You are listening to The Underground Subway with host David Alston, a podcast dedicated to giving you the strategies to live a free and better life. Here is David Alston.
Hi, I'm David Alston, host of the Underground Subway. Thank you for joining us for the Underground Subway podcast. I appreciate you, my friends, taking time out of your busy schedule, whether you're listening on your smartphone or whether you're listening riding in the car, wherever you are. I appreciate every minute that you stop to listen to what we have to say here on the Underground Subway. What is the Underground Subway? It is a podcast dedicated to one thing: giving you, my friends, the strategies needed to live a better and free life, a life full of liberty. Now, what do I mean by being liberty and being liberated? That means to be able to think, to move, to react, to live a life without restraints. What has been holding us back from being the best that we can be? And this podcast is dedicated to giving you all of the strategies that you need to be a better individual. Listen, one of the things that I have to say before I introduce my guest is that this podcast gets its title, its theme from the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman led so many slaves to freedom. And what we're doing, we're not leading slaves to freedom, but we're leading people to a better life. One of the issues is, if I were a slave when Harriet set when she was a trailblazer leading people to freedom, I would have refused to leave slavery and become free if I had to leave my children and family behind. I would want everyone to go with me. And now in 2022, as we are living a better life, we're leading. This podcast is helping to lead you to a better life. Don't just come out on your own. Take these tools, take these strategies, take these concepts, and apply it to the entire family so that you, your children, your nieces, the next generation can live a peaceful life, live in harmony with one another. My friends, that's what it's about. It's about living life together as one. I'm excited about this particular podcast because I'm excited about my guest. I'm excited to have someone who's going to get into some things that we really need to discuss to live a better life. My guest is Maureen Ross Gemme. I am extremely excited, that middle name Ross, because that's my grandmother's maiden name. My grandmother was Gola Ross, and I'm excited that Maureen Ross Gemme is with us. Let me tell you a little bit about Maureen. Maureen, she is the CEO of Emerge Leadership Academy, and she began training leaders across New England in 2015 after a 30-year corporate career. A motorcycle riding grandmother and personal growth advocate, Maureen trains and coaches leaders who want to make an impact. She is passionate about helping her clients step into their full potential and develop others on their team. As a personality expert, and that's what we're going to talk about during this podcast, Maureen helps her audiences own their own gifts and embrace the differences in the diversity of others to build better relationships. After living through her teenage years as a drug addict and alcoholic, Maureen stepped into recovery and created an awesome life. She has a deep compassion for helping others to emerge, evolve, and lead their best lives, and created the Recovery at Work program to help for those who are ready. Maureen is the host of her very own podcast called Emerge, Evolve, Lead. I like that. Welcome to the Underground Subway, Maureen Ross Gemme. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast, my friend.
It's wonderful to meet you, David. Thank you so much for having this podcast and for inviting me to speak.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Is there anything that I didn't cover in your bio or
Man, you
introduction?
did an awesome job. That was like the full bio, David. So
I'm
yeah,
ready to be your campaign manager. You can run for office.
Well, I really liked what you said right at the beginning that, we really are here to lead our best lives. And some people, we stop ourselves, right? Whether it's that critical inner voice that we have in our heads or whether it's fear on how to move forward, you can liberate yourself by learning more and as much as you possibly can about yourself, who you are. And that's why I love to teach people about their personality so that they can own who they are and step forward with their best foot forward, as you say, and really make a difference and make an impact in not only your own lives, but the lives of your family, the lives of your
Mm-hmm.
friends, the lives of your colleagues, and
Mm-hmm.
any kind of leadership way that you want to step into that. It's wonderful.
Maureen, let's jump right into this because as I was years ago, I worked in a classroom. I worked with children with special needs behavior students, and I went to a what was called a teacher academy that they gave the teachers during the summer. And one of the topics, the main topic of the workshop that we studied was called learning styles. It
Mm-hmm.
was learning styles. And we talked about whether or not, as an educator, you need to know whether or not a student was a they function as an audible or kinesthetic, whether they had to, whether they enjoyed learning with hands-on, whether it was verbally. So you have to learn the different learning styles. I'm intrigued that you don't necessarily deal with learning styles, but you deal with personality styles. And that is very intriguing to me. If we can start this podcast by talking about what are the four personality styles that people generally fall into, and then we'll talk about how can we identify, because one of the things about the learning styles, I learned the 8 different styles that how people learn.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to step back and say, well, which category do I fall into? And
Yeah.
I was able to say, well, I am that visual learner. I need to see it. And as well, I'm a nature person. I love nature. So I can really learn if I'm sitting outside around trees. So you have to identify who you are, where you are. Well, talk to us about personality styles. What are they? And then I need to know which one do I category do I fall into.
Okay, perfect. First, I just want to say that there really are so many aspects of ourself, right, that we can learn about it. Personality is just one aspect. Your learning style is another. Your beliefs are another. Your values, right, your life values are a
Mm-hmm.
fourth way. There's so many different ways to really get to know yourself. So again, and we all have different experiences and skills. We have different ethnicities and backgrounds and cultures that we grew up in. So all of those things make up the person of who you are. But I'm an audio learner, just so
Okay.
and I do have my master's in education as well, and so I understand about all the different learning styles. But this is the most fun. The four learning, and there's lots of different personality modalities, we call them, right? We got the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and there's the
Mm-hmm.
Enneagram, but I'm teach mostly the everything disc, and it's from
Okay.
Wiley and Sons, and there's like years and years of scientific backed research that goes behind this. So as I'm describing each of the four styles, I want you to see, and your listeners to listen and see if you can identify which category you fall into. Now, you're going to hear yourself in every one of these four, and you might very well be a mixture of two. You're going to have characteristics from all of them, but mostly your natural abilities will probably fall towards one or two of these quadrants. Okay, so the
Okay.
first one, and it is the everything disc model. So the discs is DISC, and each letter stands for a different area of the disc. So we'll start with the D. That is the dominance personality type. We all know these types at work, right? These are your very directorial and firm, strong-willed leaders who are sometimes forceful, but they are very results-oriented. They want to move forward at a quick pace. They want to get it done, and they don't want to like beat around the bush, right? They're very direct. They will say things to you directly. They don't, sometimes they step on toes too, because they're not as empathetic or sensitive, right, to the feelings. They're just trying to get things done. Let's move it on here. So that's a little bit about the D. Now, the second one is the influencer, or the influence is what the I stands for. And your personality type that falls here is also very outgoing and fast paced, as the D is, but they're more people centered or people focused, as opposed to the D's are more task focused, to get it done. And the I's are more people focused. So they're very optimistic, they're super friendly, high spirited, lively. They might be considered like the class clown, and if you're in an academic situation, or the guy or the gal who's always cracking jokes or trying to diffuse situations. But they're very enthusiastic and outgoing and friendly, and they love to collaborate. They like to work with people on teams. Then you have your S. This is the third style, and the S stands for steadiness. The steadiness personality type is also a people-focused person as opposed to tasks. Now, they doesn't mean we don't do tasks or that sort of, but it's just more friendly and warm towards people. They're also trusting, but even tempered. And they're accommodating. They do want to please all the people all the time. These are your very resourceful people. They know how to get things done because they do want to do a good job. They want to please other people. They're very patient and humble and tactful. So we know these people, they're kind and nice, right? You know who I'm talking about, right? These folks that are just really, really sweet. Those are your S types. All right. And then and they're also very, they like a stable environment. They do not like chaos or conflict, those kinds of things. Now we're going to move on to the fourth and last one, which is your C type. The C stands for conscientiousness. Now, this is the hardest one to spell, but it is there. Conscientiousness style is also, like the D, more task focused as opposed to people oriented. So your conscientiousness folks are very analytical, and they are reserved and precise. So they are your quality conscious people. They want to get it done, but they want to get it done right. They are super focused on making sure it's done right. They are very good with processes and systems. Okay, so these are in the real world. You were talking about professors. They like research, or engineers, right, or project managers in the kind of corporate environment. And they're also very private people. So where your I's are super outgoing, enthusiastic, and they're like, want to have a party all the time, your C's are much more introverted and quiet, shy, but they take in all the data and they'll produce fantastic solutions. So that's the overview of the D, I, S, and C model. Now you might fall, between two categories. You might be sort of a C and an S combined, but usually there's one or two that you gravitate towards just naturally. So David, where do you think you might fall here?
As I was taking notes, I am definitely dominance and influencer.
Okay. So you're the DI type.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm the DI.
Okay. So that means that you're very fast paced and outgoing. You connect with people well. You are also, you like to build relationships, but you also want to get things done. So you enjoy some collaboration, but not if people are just playing around too much, right,
Me.
right.
Yep.
So it's like, let's get it done. We can celebrate after, and we move forward. So that's great. And it is, I'm wondering, in the audience styles, here's how you could also easily recognize where you are. If you haven't, you're kind of a little bit unsure about where you might fall, there's two questions that I always ask that help people. And in this way, David, you can also type your neighbor in the cubicle next to you, or your boss, or your significant other at home. All right. And here they are. Are you more fast-paced and outgoing, or more cautious and reflective. So your D's and your I's are fast paced and outgoing, and your C's and your S's are more cautious and reflective. Now, we're talking about more than 50% of the time. Now, if you're pretty even, well, it depends. And it's either, you might just fall on the line in between the I and the S, or the D and the C. But the second question should help clarify at least what side you're on. The second question is, are you more questioning and skeptical, or friendly and warm and sort of friendly? And that way you can sort of understand if you're more task focused or people focused. And I can also say that if you are still unsure, are you pretty trusting? That's usually the key word. People who are trusting more so, they're not questioning and skeptical. They fall on the people side. They trust people when they meet them. But if you're kind of like, yeah, no, they got to prove to me first that they're trustworthy, then you're probably more on the D side than the I side, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make
That's
sense?
me. Yeah. That's me. I don't know though. I guess I'm pretty trusting because, and the reason why I try to be trusting is because I want others to trust me.
Yes. Well, and that's the number one thing, right? Any leader who is going to have any kind of influence over other people needs to be not only trustworthy, but they need to, give trust to other people. So you have to give some of that first before you get some of it back. But
Mhm.
it depends what kind of environment you're in. Who are you dealing with all the time? So some people would say, yeah, I deal with people walking. I'm a clerk at McDonald's and people are coming in all the time. No, you're right. You can't make those kinds of judgments. But if you're in a high powered, like you're a project manager and you're dealing with people in corporate and they're higher levels,
Mhm.
some of those people, you know that they would never have gotten to their level if they didn't have some sort of integrity or honesty. And now in the world today, some people would even question me and tell me you're way too trusting, Maureen. But that is my
Well,
nature. Can
I
you tell where I fall?
I would probably say the influencer and maybe that S, this, sort of.
Yeah, I can play any role that I need to at any
Okay.
time now at this stage of my life. But my dot, when you take the 20-minute assessment online, it gets a dot, right, puts a dot in your map. And my dot is way on the outer edge of, imagine a circle, of the I quadrant. So yes, I'm a very high level I
Well,
influencer there.
question, does currently my current employment requires trust. I work with cancer physicians who oftentimes they have to trust me that I'm going to get the job done when they're handling more serious things. But for 20 years, I was an educator. Do you think that your profession as an educator, you would think that you're an influencer because you're influencing younger lives? Does your profession play a role in?
You know what? It doesn't.
I didn't
This
think
is,
so.
you
I
know
didn't
what?
think
It
so.
doesn't. It's so weird. But again, remember when I was talking earlier about all the different things that influence us?
Right.
Well, our parents, how they
Hmm.
programmed us or conditioned us as children. If you just always knew that you were going to grow up and be an educator, or you were told, like many, going to be a very generalistic speaking, like Indian folks are told you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Okay.
A lot of times I hear these
Hmm.
kinds of stories, and you grow up and you're told what to do and you follow suit if you've been ingrained that you have to honor your parents and you have to,
Hmm.
whatever. But if not, if you're given a lot more, liberal freedoms of choosing whoever you want to be, then you get to decide. But I've met leaders in every one of these personality styles. But sometimes people say, well, the D's are the best leaders because they get stuff done. Yeah, but in this climate now, we need more empathetic, we need more caring, and we need more people focused leaders sometimes, so that we can also stop people from leaving. We can't have toxic environments anymore. So as teachers are concerned, though, David, I wanted to share that a lot of times you'll find them in the S and the C realm,
Okay.
because they're experts in what they know and they want to pass on that knowledge oftentimes. And the S's are caring, and especially they like to teach. They want to see the education and the learning happening there. So it's a mixture, because I'm an I, and education is one of my highest values. I mean, like I
Mhm.
personal growth, because I was a drug addict and an alcoholic as a child, really, as a teenager, and in my early 20s. I had a major transformation, and I had to change everything about myself, including what all my belief systems, my values, who I hung around with, who I played, where I hung, and everything, just everything about how I dressed and how I acted, how I spoke. And I went back to school in my 40s, and I got the education that I needed. But still, it doesn't stop. I'm now, thinking of taking the next great adventure. I've been an entrepreneur for 9 years, and I'm actually thinking of going back into the corporate environment, because I think I can get more, I can make a bigger impact.
Question. I'm just taking all kind of notes. I'm just writing that. This is really good to me. Is this any way near the online? I remember doing something, and I see a lot of people now on social media. They will say, "Well, my name is what is it? John Doe. My name is John Doe, and I am an INFL or
Yeah,
IMF,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is this in are you talking about anything? Is that something that's generic or
So
broad or
what that particular identification is the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and many companies have adopted that. It's been around since the 70s, and that I'm an ENFJ, for example.
okay, okay.
And so yes, some people will say it's sort of like, I'm a Cancer in my
Uh,
astrological chart.
I never could get I never I know what I am, but I never could equate, the personality types with an astrological sign.
I know, but the more I learn, the more amazing. It is amazing what people have come up with, these models of different ways to understand yourself and what your
Hmm.
skills are. And when you embrace that, especially like in your 20s, when you're trying to figure out what you want to do for a career, because you know what, if you're introverted, if you're more cautious and reflective, you don't want to step into a high paced sales career. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're
Hmm.
probably going to fail, but who's to say that that's not going to be the greatest lesson of your life? So I don't try to stop anybody from doing whatever adventure they want to step into. But the more you know yourself, the better aligned you can be with your values, with aligning your head with your heart, and so that you can have less stress and love what you're doing, and
Yeah.
really relate to other people in whatever it is that you decide to do with your life.
Let me ask you this. I hate to cut you off, but this is a burning question, that because what you just said. So, what about in instances when I know it was done to me as a child, and I know I've seen it thousands of times with children. When you say to a child at 10 years old or 12 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Is that a fair question?
No, 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 it is not. I will continue to, yeah, that's an easy answer question. Honest to God, when I got sober when I was 24, and I immediately got into the corporate work environment. I had worked in manufacturing and retail and hospitality and all of that beforehand. Then I got into corporate, and I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll get into
Mhm.
accounting. And then I got into, maybe it was underwriting, whatever. I kept moving around, and I got into education. So I had 14 jobs in the 27 years I was in that company. 14, that's like changing every other year. And I did that a lot. I kept jumping from one thing to the other. And I got into HR when I was about 39 years old, 40 years old. And I was like, oh my God, I have arrived. This is where I'm supposed to be. And then I went back and got my degree in education in my early 40s. I got my undergraduate in psychology at 45. No, you don't know in your 20s. You just don't even know. You're just trying to figure it
Right.
out. And then you fall in love and you start raising a family and you just can't quit your job. You just keep doing what you're doing, hoping, that things work out. It's not easy life, right? It takes
Right. That's true.
maturity, it takes time. And you
So
just
yeah.
gotta keep living it.
So asking a 10-year-old, what do you want to be? I know when I was 10 years old, every time someone would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? What does every young boy want? Either a policeman or a fireman
Oh, or a basketball
or a
player or a
basketball
football
player.
player.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football. I remember saying that. I want to be a football player. I was blessed enough to have the size and the ability, but of course you're talking, so does everyone else.
I know.
but I, but
It's
does
a
that
tough
lead us?
world.
Does that put pressure on a kid to go into an area that they're really not? Is not their personality isn't suited for.
Well, I think that our brains continue to mature and evolve up until like 26 years old. So I think
Mm-hmm.
one of the best things is if you don't know what you want to do yet, then take a gap year after high school and go
Right.
into, fine arts or something and dabble around in this and that. But some people, David, and I think you know this, having been in education, some people just know. My
Right.
brother, I'm one of 6 kids, and my brother, he knew since the age of 10 that he wanted to play the drums. So he started playing them. And I'll tell you what, he was fantastic in high school. He graduated, he went on to college, he became a professional musician. And he actually has played with He's played at Carnegie Hall. He's played at Chicago with the
Wow.
Chicago Symphony Orchestra. He's played with Mannheim Steamroller. He's got CDs out, and he's really done some amazing things, won national contests, all in the steel drum and percussion. He's a
Wow.
percussionist and he loves the steel drum. He's got many steel drum bands now. He's been to Trinidad. He's done all kinds of amazing things, but he's the only one I know that knew what he wanted to be when he was 10.
When he was 10.
Yeah.
And you think about it, the world would be a better place if everyone was doing uh, in an occupation or a career that suited their personality.
Yeah.
Is it important during the interview process? Shouldn't these questions or these the personality types, shouldn't that be a part of the interview process to make sure
Well,
that I'm hiring someone that?
yes and no, because it's subjective. Okay, David. So there is some parts of there are if the questions are asked in the right way. So for example, I've taken leadership tests, psychological things, right? And I failed because my values and the way I see things didn't line up with that particular company's culture, corporate
Okay.
culture.
Right.
And that's okay. But there's others that I pass with flying colors because they want this type. And so, I think, again, there's so many different ways that you can decide. But I always want to say, because I believe in spirituality too, that
Mhm.
everything happens for my highest good,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
that there really are no failures or mistakes. And if I've gotten in the wrong job, it's okay. You can, or I've gotten in with the wrong crowd, or I've, done something that I'm not proud of. You can make a different choice tomorrow. You can
Mhm.
change at any time. Just because your past does not equal your future. You can change your beliefs, you can change your values, and you can even decide what part of your personality do you want to expand and grow in.
Mhm.
Okay, because
Right.
nothing is set in stone. You get to
Right.
choose, if
That's right.
because we all have free will, and
That's right.
that's the true liberty, right, of all
That's
of it.
it. That's it. Well, we're running out of time. They say time flies when you're having fun. One,
Indeed.
one, one final question. Would a person, if I listed myself as a DI, would I be compatible to be close friends with a guy who was an SC?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Or would I be better with a DI?
No, you probably butt heads with the DI person.
Okay.
So it, right? It depends. On a team, you always want to have everybody from each discipline, from each personality, because
Got you.
it makes for a much more well-rounded solution. And just, I'm enthusiastic, I'm super creative, but the C's are going to hold me accountable. Yeah. You think that's really wise? I think you got a pie in the sky idea here. And so, okay, they're going to keep me grounded. And so we need all different types in
Right.
our groups for sure.
Well, Maureen, I said that was my last question, but I have one more question for you. Would you consider in the future coming back and joining the podcast again?
Of course. Yes, yes, absolutely. I have so much to share because
All
I'd like to
right.
also talk to your listeners about the 6 human needs that we all have and how to get your needs met.
All
That's a
right.
really
Oh,
fun
that,
topic.
yeah, I'm sure that will, but we're going to definitely put that on the calendar. We got
Can
to
I
get that one.
offer one more thing?
Sure,
I would just like
sure.
to say that if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about their personality type, they can go to my website and take the free quiz. It's emergeleadershipacademy.com, and it's right on the front page, and they'll see the quiz, what animal best represents your leadership style. And there's 7 questions, and it's very interesting. So go there.
All right. Well, to everyone listening, you can see that we have the Maureen's website listed in the description of the podcast, and go there and find out who you are. That's important. Before we can go forward, we need to know who we are and our personality type. Well, thank you, Maureen, for joining us. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and away from your awesome podcast. To
Thank you,
everyone that
David.
is listening, please search for and listen to Maureen's podcast called Emerge, Evolve, and Lead. I'm sure it will really spark you and get you going and get you motivated. Well, my friends, we're out of time, but we're certainly not out of strategies. We're not out of ideas for making life better. That's what we want to do. And that's what this podcast has done. We want to thank Maureen Ross Gemme for joining us to give us some strategies. And we're looking forward to, in the future, her coming back and talking about those 6 needs that we all have and how to get those needs met. We'll talk about that. I'm not even going to elaborate it. We're going to talk about that as we move forward. Listen, before we go, I want to challenge you, my friends. I want to issue you a challenge before you go. Tonight, before you go to bed, I want to challenge you to do something for me. I want you to find a mirror. I want you to look yourself in the eyes, eyeball to eyeball in the mirror before you go to bed. Stare at yourself. And then I want you to ask yourself a question. Today, did I do something to define who I am, to find out what my personality is? Did I do something to make the world a better place? Or did I waste another day? We don't have time to waste another day. Time is precious. Live life to the fullest. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great day today and a better day tomorrow. I'm David Austin, and we'll see you next time on the Underground Subway.